Hey everyone, hi, my name is Heather Havenwood and welcome. This is Pepe. So we are doing an update. We are doing, like I said, an update on the new PPP. Today is April 3rd, Friday, the opening day of this, and things are crazy and hairy. Kerry Lutz, welcome. Kerry Lutz is the owner of Financial Survival Network. My name is Heather Havenwood. I'm just an entrepreneur trying to make it like you. So here we go. The first thing is, Kerry, we noticed that this morning or late last night, the PPP application changed. It changed. All right, I'm going to put that up on the screen here so people can get an idea what we're talking about. Make sure you got the latest one. Go for it.
Okay, so the main thing is if you go down to the line.
The first part that changes the check one. So that was not there on Monday. None of that was there on check one. So now you have LLC, sole proprietor, eligible self-employed individual, and independent contractor. None of that was there on Monday. So that's the first thing.
So you pick what you are.
Yeah.
And then everything else under that's the same till you get to average monthly payroll. That's the same. And then it says times 2.5 plus EDIL, which is the economic injury
disaster loan.
Disaster loan.
That's the $10,000.
Right. No. The EIDL is the actual full-blown loan request. So if you had $250,000 worth of economic injury, it would be $250 less advance, of which is $10,000 that you could get, which I don't know of anybody who's gotten it, equals loan request. Now, are they attempting to make the PPP application and the EIDL application the same one for both? I have no idea. It makes no sense, but there it is. And if you're not requesting an EIDL, then, or if you haven't requested it yet, you're just going to have to see. This is, as we've said before, rapidly evolving, rapidly changing, and I don't know what to tell you on it other than you got to take a look. And you're going to have to probably talk to your banker and see what that means. What we do have is the final rule that the SBA made under their emergency authority to pass rules without comment. They're still taking comment on the rules. They're just implementing them. So as stuff changes, the rule will change. And one thing that I noticed, and it's very difficult to know exactly how it's going to work, is they're talking about payroll, and their definition of payroll is overly restrictive. And I'll give you an example. Payroll, you have an employee that works for you, you pay them $500 a week, you file payroll forms with the withholding and Social Security and state taxes, unemployment insurance, and those are your payroll records. Okay, fine. That's clear. And you could have a C Corp and you could have an S Corp and you could be doing that. But when you have an LLC or you have a partnership, you aren't
different.
You're not on the payroll.
Right.
And I once was in a situation, I was in a partnership, we put ourselves in the payroll, the IRS audited and said, there's nothing wrong because you paid us all the money that you were going to anyway, but you're not allowed to do it this way. You have to pay on your federal return, on your 1040, your individual return, you have to pay your self-employment tax and all the other taxes involved. You're not an employee for this purpose. And yet you're paying self-employment tax. So if you're paying self-employment tax, you're kind of like an independent contractor. They're paying self-employment tax at the end of the year. And then you've got this other blank, eligible self-employed individual. So I don't know what to tell you there. It's ambiguity. It appears,
it's very ambiguity.
You're not going to be covered under the PPP for your own salary if you don't actually receive a paycheck from either a C Corp or an S Corp. So
yeah, that was an ambiguity earlier. I was reading about that too, that they don't know.
Big problem.
Yes.
Some of you out there own LLCs that are taxed as partnerships. So as a result, you don't file any payroll returns on yourself.
Right.
And so they're going to have to change something on that. The other thing is, though, for LLCs,
Mm-hmm.
single member LLCs, you have a right to file a 1099 at the end of the year rather than a K1. And there's a debate whether it's a 1099D or 1099 miscellaneous. I don't know the answer to it. You got to talk to your accountant, your attorney, but that in effect, you would have the necessary documentation if one were filed for 2019 to actually be able to file for your own pay under this.
So Kerry, I'm looking at one of these certifications and it says the applicant was in operation on February 15th, 2020 and had employees for whom it paid salaries and payroll taxes or paid independent contractors.
Right.
So again, this is from what I'm reading, and this is the latest one as of April 3rd, 2:00 Central Time. It looks like perhaps, you know, if you paid somebody 1099 based on this.
Yeah, well, the actual rule says even if you're paying independent contractors, you can't get a PPP loan based on what you're paying them. They are required to apply on their own, which
Right.
is
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. So that if they're 10, so just repeat what he just said. If you are paying someone 1099, what we were reading earlier is that that person, okay, you pay 10, that they should be applying, not you applying for them. However, I'm reading this document right here and it's different. So now the other thing to consider is as of this morning, I know my bank has been taking, I just been emailing my banker the forms. Okay. I've heard through the grapevine that Bank of America might have online. I've heard Chase does. Heard it's also crashing.
Yeah.
Citibank I have an account with. I've heard nothing from Citibank.
Citibank is not online yet. Look, there was an article I think in Forbes or Fortune this morning. The government's ready to go. The banks have questions. Their main question appears to be, what if somebody commits fraud? Are we on the hook? And they've got legitimate questions and they want them answered before they're going to do it. And mark my words, come Monday morning, I am of belief that probably 3/4 to 90% of the banks that are going to offer the program will have it online. What I think is going to happen is because the volume is going to be so great, they're not going to accept the personal applications. It's strictly going to be an online portal, and you will have to supply the docs with your app, and then you will get a number. Hopefully, you'll actually get an email verifying that you filed, and they'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And then if they're really good, they'll have automated the entire process. And then the only time you'll hear back is to say you're approved or we need additional information or you're rejected.
Okay. I'm going to also share what we talked about, the forgivable part real quick.
Okay. So in the final SBA rule, originally we were all saying that when the debt is forgiven, you will have to claim that as income because there's a thing called forgiveness of indebtedness. And generally when somebody loans you money and then they say, don't pay me back, then it becomes income. In this case, specifically, the SBA has addressed that it is not to be considered income for purposes of your tax return. So in other words, you're going to get a tax-free loan that if you dedicate most of it towards retaining your employees, you will then it will then be forgiven, and then you won't even have to report it on your taxes. So it's literally a tax-free gift from Uncle Sam.
So let's repeat that. It's a tax-free gift because it's not going, the loan itself is not going to be taxed, correct? Even though it's going to be forgiven?
Once it's forgiven, so understand, like this is a big thing with mortgages during the foreclosure crisis. They forgive the debt and you wind up getting income for the amount that it's forgiven. It's phantom income. In this case, you got the loan, you complied with the terms, you used 75% or more to retain employees, and then it's forgiven under the terms of PPP. And then originally they said it's going to be considered income, forgiveness of indebtedness. But here we find out in the final SBA rule, no, that's not going to be the case. Yet another reason that you want to get this. There's a lot of factors that go into it. We're only giving you examples here. It's educational. We can't tell your specific situation and circumstances and how this is going to work for you, but we're giving you some things to think about and issues to raise with your attorneys, if you have them, or CPAs who may not have addressed these issues. They may not have thought about it. And for that reason, this is why you need to really keep track of this. There's a lot of other issues that are going to be raised here. I've never seen a program of this magnitude implemented within a week and a half of passage. It just got signed into law by President Trump on Saturday.
Right.
And we're already getting forms. Banks are already going online. They intend to turn around these apps, the ones that comply, within 2 to 3 days, and you'll have cash. But before they pay it out, they want everything from the government assured. And the government is just saying, would you please just give these people the money? They need it. They need it to survive.
It's typical bank, right? They want to make sure their CYI, they're like their ass is covered.
Oh,
and
sure.
by the way, I'm on here of the National Review. It's an article right here. I'm highlighting loan forgiveness, not taxable income. Forgiveness and indebtedness will not be treated as taxable income to borrowers for federal income tax purposes. I want to really reiterate that, because I've had people I've sent the videos to, and they say, well, it's a loan and I don't want to get more debt, or, whatever they're got going on. I'm like,
this doesn't go on your credit report.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to affect you. Just answer everything honestly.
Right.
If you're not sure, talk to an attorney, talk to a CPA. Don't just go answering stuff without knowing what you're talking about here, okay? Because that'll get you into trouble. And make sure if you get an answer from your attorney or accountant, you retain that for your records. So if you ever have a question about it, you'll be in a position to say, I was relying on advice of counsel or my CPA, and I did what they told me to. And by the way, this article that you've been reviewing, Heather, National Law Review,
right.
It's I don't know, it looks like it's put out by the same people that put out the Law Journal, National Law Journal. It appears to be authoritative. It's the best document I could find.
By the way, this one was actually Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. So yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Later in the evening. And there's a lot of articles online now about the rough start the program's getting off to, but really it's not that rough. It's like starting up a new engine.
Yeah.
You gotta go a little slow, because if you go full speed ahead, you floor it going out of the dealer.
And the thing I want to explain to people is that the banks are making sure that they are not on the hook, right? So that's the key.
That's part of it. And there's ambiguity here. What do we do with the person that is an S corp and they get a K1? What do we do with the partnerships, and what do we do with the LLCs who are getting K1s rather than 1099? So I guess it's possible that many of you out there, if you have a S corp single owner, or rather an LLC, single owner LLC, that's what you call a disregarded entity, and you're entitled to get a 1099 for profits. And that might be what qualifies you for the loan, but obviously that's something you got to take up with your accountant and tax attorney or attorney.
Okay. Question. If I'm a solo proprietor, I can file for this PPP that we know of.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because
do I have to have, and the next question is, do I have to have 2019 filed?
No, but you got to have some kind of record of what you paid yourself in 2019 so far, or rather in 2020, what you paid yourself, and you've got to have some records to put it together. You're better off just getting it done It'll be your Schedule C on your tax return, and you'll submit that with the other documents. And actually, that'll probably be the only document that you need to submit.
Okay. Okay, so we've gone through my little checklist here. All right, so I'm going to send the link in the bottom. I'm going to put the link of the new form. It's this on the Treasury. I mean, it's a link to the Treasury Department. I'll also put the article of the National Review. Feel free to check it out. And again, as of right now, a lot of banks aren't ready, or they're stopping, or whatever. So keep that in mind. This is an ongoing, changing, fluid deal. So don't freak out. Stay in the boat.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. You got to understand the banks are being overly cautious. Literally, the Treasury is pushing the banks to just get the money out there because, look, a lot of you out there, restaurants, hair salons, barbershops, whatever, you're dying on the vine here. And it's having a mushrooming effect because as a result, I just talked to a friend of mine who's a small landlord, and normally at this time of the month, he says all rents are due on the 5th. He doesn't do the 1st because people go kind of crazy on the 1st. He's a nice guy. And he said he's gotten about 25% of the rent collected by now. Normally he'd have 2/3. Everybody is defaulting. There will be moratoriums on evictions. There already is a forbearance on foreclosure if you have a federally insured loan. We already talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, I have another video on that. I'll put that in the comments.
Put all of them in the comments, please.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
We've done so far, and I will shoot you out the SBA final rule. I only send that out. You don't have to read it, but if you've got a question on something, you should read it because it was just surprising because the Congress is stupid. Most of them have never owned a business. Most of them have never had to make a payroll. So it's like for us little people out here, they don't even know how the real world works, that most people have given up corporations for LLCs, and they don't understand how partnerships work. And these are the people that pass the laws, and these are the people who have your fate in their hands. So you got to just really white knuckle this through. It's the kind of thing, Heather, you're not going to know you got it till the money's in your account.
That's right. That's right. So I hope this is of value to you. Well, I'll be adding all the links that we just talked about. And again, I am not an accountant. I am not a lawyer. We're just in here with the boat with you and trying to support and help our business associates around the country, United States. Okay, that it, Kerry?
That's it.
Okay, cool.